Welcome.
Welcome back.
Got a bit of a shorter one today. This one's called Wendigos Aren't Like You Think, and it's by Federal Ad 7920. Seems pretty cool.
Yeah, the Wendigos wear furry suits. That's why.
I hope the hell not. Yeah.
You catch them at the conventions.
Ugh,
No, my bad.
critters.
Um, yeah, we read. This is the second Wendigo story we read on this channel. We read the original one that was written in like 19 something, and
Hmm.
then I think we read a Skinwalker one that
Well, it's like
was
the super fucking child.
yeah. Man, just sweared within the first minute of the video again.
Hey! He's gonna yell at me later. You guys don't know this. He hits me. He hits me.
All right, well, we're just gonna jump right in here. I'll let Ben jump right in. So,
Thank you. Wendigos aren't like you think. There's a feeling you get when you're out in a holler at night, trees rising up around you like great teeth of some ancient being, a feeling of hopelessness, loneliness, at how small you are, but also a fundamental sense that you are a part of it all. It's overwhelming, and in that moment you can feel God. It's been years since I got in the woods again. I miss it, ache for it, but I worry about what'll happen if I go out there. Hold on, let me zoom in real quick. Ooh, that's way better. I'd heard tales of the Witticow from Cree boys I'd go fishing with. Monster men who succumbed to the sin of gluttony and placed their own survival over that of the community. It was a spirit, they said. An old and evil spirit that crawled into men. It was a kind of scary story shared amongst young boys playing at being men. A chance to boast of how you'd slay such a beast. A lesson taught on how to avoid becoming one. It was in the winter of 89, or 88 to 89, that I encountered a Witticow, or what most folk now call Wendigo. I was camping with my brother Nate and our friend Hakwakin. It was before the first snow, and we had been amongst the trees for a week, living off the land. We were each of us skilled enough at hunting. Nate and I eager to test out our new rifles, but game alone isn't enough, and so we foraged too. I don't see colors right, so the foraging fell to Nate and Takwakin. So it was that I would check and gather the snares each morning, while they broke camp, and each day we stopped, I would set camp while they foraged. It was a carefree time whenever we went roaming in the woods. Not easy, but simple, and without the complexities of society. We had each other for company, and through there were times there was want of a woman. Hold on, let me read that again. And through there were times was want of a woman. It's hard to read. This was easily dealt with by a quick trip alone to the river.
hang on here. So we're talking about crawling into men. Now we're talking about spanking the meat by the river.
Fucking
What's going on
jorking it in
here?
the river, bro. Nights were the domain of stories. We would sit out amongst the moon and stars and take turns telling the stories of our youth. Takwakins were my favorite, for I hadn't heard their like before. Nate's were well old and familiar, bringing comfort in repetition. I had no craft at speaking. Felt like words got caught in my throat and tied my tongue up. They didn't mock me, though, not like the other boys back in town. A full moon shone overhead on a perfect cloudless night, and Takwakin drew our attention to it. You know there's a rabbit up there, he asked, his breath frosting and the hints of a smile playing on his face. Nate and I laughed. No, I'm serious, he said, still smiling. There was a rabbit who wanted to go to the moon, so he asked all the birds in the land to take him. He asked the jay, but Jaybird said, I am too small to carry you. So we asked the goose, for it was larger than the jay and could support his weight. But the goose too said no. It is too cold up so high, the goose said. Already I fly from place to place to avoid such cold. I will not fly to that cold rock.
At this, the poor rabbit had lost hope that he would ever touch the moon. But Brother Crane had heard the rabbit's pleading. He was strong and not afraid of the cold. I will take you, he said. But you must hold tight to me, for it is a long fall if you let go. And with that, Tuckwakin sat back and closed his eyes. Nate kicked his foot. Out with it, Nate said. What? Tuckwakin asked. I don't know. Tuckwakin asked, smile growing.
Yes.
Out with the rest, I said.
Always gotta study.
You ain't ever told a story that didn't have no ending, Nate said. We were both leaning forward now, the fire between us crackling encouragement to our plight. Tuckwakin delighted in our hanging on his word. Telling tales is what he loved most. Jesus. Said it was a way of keeping alive what we otherwise lost. Fine, fine. If that is not enough, he relented. He sat up again, and the light of the fire danced in his eyes. The rabbit hopped onto Brother Crane's feet and wrapped his paws as tightly around his legs as he could. So tight the scales dug into his soft skin, and the crane took flight. It is a long way from here to the moon, and very cold, and so the crane flew as fast as he could. So fast that poor rabbit nearly slipped and fell away, so he clutched tighter. But the ground didn't want to part with the rabbit, and greedily pulled him back down. But still, the rabbit held on. So tight, the crane's short legs got stretched and stretched. Damn. Finally, they made it to the moon. And Rabbit, breathless from the journey, patted Crane's head in thanks. But Rabbit had held so tight his paws were bloody, and it left a mark on Crane's head. And this is why all cranes today have long legs and red marks on their head. A gift from the moon rabbit. And with that, he pointed out dark patches on the moon that looked like a rabbit. I went to sleep that night with thoughts of the moon rabbit. I awoke to a soft noise in the woods, whispering, on the verge of hearing. A fellow fur trapper, more than likely, about his business before the first light. But there was a smell, too, an awful smell, like someone had ripped the guts from a wolf and left them to steam in the snow. Predator guts stink different. It's oh my god, what word is that? Suitable? Subtle. But you come to notice it after a while. A wrongness, but more than in other creatures, a warning maybe. I drifted off with memories of helping paw-skin a whole pack of wolves down by the creek, and a voice that might have been my paws telling me to come outside. I awoke again to bustling activity. Takawakin was burying the remains of the fire and bundling his gear and share of skins. Come on, we need to leave this place, he said, as much to me as to Nate. What about the traps? I asked. Leave them, we're heading back, Takawakin said. I looked at Nate, but he just shrugged, so we got to work packing up.
We'd been snaking a path along the north side of the river, long and wide. A journey that had taken us 7 days, but could see as home in as little as 2. And Takwakin was setting a pace to see it done. The sun rose high in the sky, but its warmth never reached the ground, and before it reached its apex, we had lost it in a blanket of white that heralded the coming snows. Nate had kept his peace far longer than I had expected, before the silence wore on him too deep, and he had to pry. "What's the hurry? What did you see?" he said, moving up to match Takwakin's step, leaving me to hurry behind. Fat flakes of snow spiraled to the ground like manna from heaven. I stopped and caught some on my tongue, like I had when I was still a young boy. When I looked ahead, I saw I was quickly being left behind, and doubled my pace to catch up. "You're fooling," Nate was saying. "It was probably a trader with a fresh kill." "No, it was a Witticow. A Kitehaya has the hand of one. It still lives, claws and scratches to escape its confines. As children, we are brought to see it, that we might know the signs of the Witticow. Their sight, their smell, it was Witticow." Nate stopped, allowing me to catch up. Takwakin had always spoken jokingly of the Witticow. We had never heard of this hand before. I thought of that smell from last night. The voice, half heard in my dream. Takwakin finally stopped too. "Come on, it tracks us even now. We need to get back. Our only hope is in community," Takwakin said, and started moving again. Nate and I rushed after him. "If it's following us, why can't we smell it?" Nate asked. "When you stalk deer, do you approach upwind that it might notice you?" We walked in silence after that. Snow came down faster, settling heavily on the forest floor. Flakes whipped by in the corner of my vision, conjuring images of the Witticow darting between trees after us. Twigs cracked in the distance, snow crunched, and the wind hissed and howled. Normal sounds of nature I had grown up with turned blood-curdling by Takwakin's words. It was before nightfall that we started setting up camp. Takwakin said it was dangerous to move at night. We'd build a big fire, stay together, and have weapons loaded to hand. "The Witticow is a coward," he said. "Strong enough in body to tear through 10 men, but weak in heart. It fears being outnumbered. It wants to draw us apart, so we stick together." We only had Remingtons, calibered at .22, bought earlier in the year because Nate and I had been taken in by the store clerk's hatter about what a great invention it was. Takwakin had an old Winchester, Yellow Boy, which was a .44 at least. I wasn't convinced any would be effective against a Witticow.
We were in a holler. We'd camped. Oh, what? We were in a holler we camped at on the way out. The fire raged in the middle of the camp, burning as high and bright as we could manage. We'd made a stash of firewood here on our way out, anticipating snowfall. The snow had stopped, but still blanketed everything, making the trees look even more like giant teeth, and the fire a lapping tongue. Sleep did not come easily to any of us, as we sat around the fire, cradling our rifles. Fear burned in my veins, but like the fire, it could only burn so bright for so long. I drifted. A scream pierced the night and I jolted awake, gripping my gun tighter. The noise was high and soul-shredding, the sound of imminent death and helplessness. My heart stopped in my chest as my eyes darted around for the source. I could see Nate and Takwakin doing likewise. Then, the begging started. The begging. "Nate!" The voice was so high and painted. Pained. I can't see because of the goddamn line under it. Pained?
Pained, yep.
Filled with fear and anguish, it took me a moment to really realize I knew the voice. It was the voice of my mother. "Zeke, help! Oh, sweet Jesus, mercy." The sound of my name coming from my mother stirred my stomach, and my bowels near gave out. I was frozen in terror. Mother was out in the woods with that thing. Nate, always the brave one, jumped to his feet and darted towards the screaming, but Takwakin tackled him. "It's not her," he said, doing his best to keep Nate pinned. "The Witticow takes voices." "How does it know what she sounds like?" Nate asked. Suddenly the fight went out of Takwakin, and Nate was able to push him off. He pulled himself up and grabbed his gun from the drift. It had fallen to. "It already killed her," Takwakin said. "What?" Maybe was all Nate said, before he marched out into the darkness. Rifle raised. We watched him disappear and did nothing. I don't know how long we sat there. It could have been seconds, could have been minutes before a shot rang out. The lightning Yeah, the lightning crack was enough to set me off. I jumped to my feet. We have to go after him. Stick together, yeah? I said. Takwalkin was still on his knees. He looked up at me and gave me a slow nod. I helped him up, and we walked shoulder to shoulder into the darkness after Nate. Each step was a shuffle forward, half blind in the darkness, but for the moonlight, the cold burned my hands and my trigger finger itched and shook in anticipation. Do you see anything? I whispered. I'm over here, Nate shouted, as if in response. It came from up ahead to our left. Then, the explosion of a gun burst directly ahead of us, and another voice rang out.
Liar! This is also Nate's voice, dead ahead. Takwakin and I both stopped. He gestured straight ahead. I nodded. We continued forward towards the source. Guns now trained off to the left. A wet tearing sound suddenly filled the air, and the smell of iron overran the decay. My brother howled like a dying dog, and then another shot rang out, and the Witiko cried out in kind. A piercing sound like an owl possessed by the devil. We rushed forward, dreading what we would find. Nate lay against a tree, his body covered in the shining black of blood in moonlight. It poured freely from his chest and throat, steaming in the snow. I ran to him and held him tight, but he was past saving, and we all knew it. So, I hugged him and told him it was all okay, and he'd be welcomed into the kingdom of heaven. I kept muttering to him, even as his jerky breathing stopped and his body went. Zeke, I'm sorry, but he's gone to his ancestors. We need to move, Takwakin said. He was still scanning the trees for any signs of the Witiko. Zeke. I laid my brother down and my heart with him. I tried to wipe the tears from my eyes, but only succeeded in getting blood on my face. Above me, the wind rustled a tree branch. Zeke, move! Takwakin cried, and a shot rang out. A great weight dropped on me. Bones and sallow skin, reeking of death, and far too heavy for what it was. The face was lolled by my side, so human and yet so inhuman, neck twisted at an impossible angle. Thanks, I tried, he said, trying to pull myself out from under it. Takwakin pulled the lever on his rifle, aimed and shot the thing again, clean through the head. It's not dead yet. We've got to melt its heart. Jesus, he said. He dropped his rifle and helped roll the beast off me. As it rolled, I felt a horrible pain spring from my stomach. I looked down to see blossoming black where my belly should be. The claws of one hand twitched wildly still, clasping and unclasping at a lump of flesh that used to be me. Between the sight and the pain, it was too much. I threw up and felt my stomach rub against the ragged hole. Think I'll just lay here a while, I said. You go on ahead and burn the heart. I'll catch you up. Takwakin looked at me, at the wound, and nodded. He pulled a knife from his belt and cut the heart from the Witiko, careful to stay clear of its twitching arms. He wrenched the heart out, and it shone in the moonlight. I'll share your story, Takwakin said. I nodded to him, and he walked into the night. I knew when he'd burned the heart because the body spasmed violently and then was finally completely still. And in that stillness, the shadow rose up. It drifted like a black cloud from the Witiko and hung over it. There were no eyes, no anything really, but it was watching me. I wish I could say that it overwhelmed me and claimed my body as its new home, that I could absolve myself of the guilt, have my hands washed clean of sin. That is not how the demon works.
It tugs at your mind, bringing some thoughts to sharp relief, while making others blur. I stared at the smoke of the undeath, and I realized I was not ready to die. But there was a way, a terrible way, I might yet survive. Oh. May the ever-merciful God redeem my soul, though I bear a greater sin than Cain. My teeth sank into my brother's already torn throat. And I drank his cooling blood like it was nectar. His flesh fell apart before my teeth, like the finest steak, and the shadow filled me.
I ate of him until my stomach distended, and I was not sated. I tore the flesh from him by the handful, and slid it down my gullet, lost to all but the hunger. And then a smell caught my nose, the most mouth-watering smell. If this slab before me was leftovers from the icebox, then the smell was meat, still on the pan, sizzling. Takwalkin. There was such emotions battling on his face. I do not know how one man may feel so much sadness, regret, hatred, betrayal, disgust. He battled to comprehend his mind and what he must do, but I was singular. This was only the hunger. My hands were on his throat in seconds, squeezing, squeezing. I think back on it now and hate myself for unadulterated glee I had in that moment, and am overjoyed by what the hell is that? Serendipity that followed. What is serendipity? Is that like enjoyment, or what is that?
I think so. Serendipity. The occurrence of finding valuable or delightful things by chance. So he was surprised by how much he enjoyed strangling this guy.
Nice. Hot.
Yuck!
A rustle underfoot, and the gray form of a rabbit bounded between the trees. I watched it in wonder, regaining a glimpse of myself. I realized Takwalkin mercifully still alive. I tried to speak, but found I couldn't. Strips that had once been my brother filled my esophagus. Takwalkin gasped for breath and looked at me. I can only imagine the conflict he felt then. I placed a bloody hand upon his head and I ran into the woods. The change came on slowly. No matter how much I ate or what I ate, I wasted away. Hunger clawed at me relentlessly, and there was no respite in dreams, for I could not sleep. The cold seeped into what remains of my skin until the fires of hell couldn't warm me. And as I ate, I grew. Limbs extending, stretching, cracking, breaking, healing. There was not but pain and cold and hunger. I succumbed to it. I resisted for as long as I could, but the devil has an eternity with which to tempt. I ate of the flesh of men, and I was not sated. I was lost to the hunger. Hidden by the cold, I wandered the woods for longer than I cared to think, until, one night, I found myself once more in a holler. It wasn't the one from my youth, but it awoke feelings that had long withered in me. I felt hopeless. I stared up at the full moon and saw it in the shadows, the rabbit. Just as Takwalkin had pointed out, I wept. Icicles that carved at the flesh of my face, and remembered that I was a man. I found it easier to temper my hunger in crowds than around individuals. Some initiate a desire of the shadows to remain hidden. I do not know, but I seized upon it. Where once I was secluded myself in, the distance places. Now I sheltered amidst concrete trees. There were still incidents, but they became more and more rare. Each was confessed before God in the twilight hours at an empty church. Recent events had torn the veil from my eyes and exposed my hubris. I thought I had conquered the shadow and could return to a semblance of normality. I decided it was time enough that I had a place of my own instead of wandering. I found an apartment, one so bathed in death that people stayed away from it, and that it was where I took up residence. There were 6 others of the 9th floor with me, and a 78 in total in the building. I knew the smell of each, knew which order I would like to eat them in. The shadow pulled at my mind, bringing thoughts of how easy it would be to slip from room to room undetected. I fear I will not be able to resist the shadow if I remain, and so I am moving on once more. but I felt the need to share this with you. With everyone, the Wendigo, isn't what you think. It is a shadow waiting to claim the heart of any foolish enough to accept it. And at least one of us only seeks to live a peaceful life.
It was kind of like, it was unique. I enjoyed it.
I liked it. No, it was cool. There was some issues I had with it.
Yeah. It's a little bit of grammar. That's fine, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of grammar stuff, and there was not necessarily spelling. I think all the spelling was good. It was just grammar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not all I have wrong with it. There's a couple parts that kind of irked me. So at the start, was it ever mentioned that Nate was his brother until the end?
I think it was I think it was mentioned around when he died, or like near the part when he ran off.
Yeah, because that felt kind of weird. Like that was kind of. I'm trying. Let me see if it's mentioned. 'Cause I don't think it was.
Oh no, it's at the beginning. I was camping with my brother Nate and our friend
Okay, so it was mentioned. Okay, so I'll skip past that then. The one thing I had a problem with was the mum thing.
How did he get her name?
Yeah, how the hell did he get her name? And
Or her voice. Not
yeah, Tackwalking was like, "Oh, I must have ate her or whatever," and I was like, "How? Like, aren't they like far away from like civilization and stuff? So like, how the hell would it eat the mother unless you had like some prior thing where like they've encountered a Wendigo before, but like the characters hadn't talked about it. So like that felt weird. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, Nate just kind of like running into the forest when Tackwalking was literally just like he wants to split us up. Like,
yeah, that was a bit of an oversight.
It's kind of stupid. Yeah, a little bit, but like it's just like stupid for the character to do that. I just don't understand why he would do that. Feels very reckless, and like clearly the characters kind of know what a Wendigo is and what it does. So like, why would he do that? Second thing I had was I felt like the Wendigo died so goddamn easy. Like that was just way too easy for what it was.
Well, I mean, shot him in the head, pulled his heart out, and like it just that was it.
But if he's like, see, the problem I have with that is because he's talking about how malevolent and evil the Wendigo spirit is, and it's like a lot of the stuff's mentioned about the devil. But if the devil was truly imbued in this creature, how could this creature die so easy?
I think it's that shadow thing is just corrupting their body, because I think they're still, obviously they're more than human, but I think they're still susceptible to like those kind of injuries, right? Like it's still a human body. It's just got this thing inside them now that's making them turn like this.
Yeah, I feel like there's just this story could have been longer and explained. I feel like if you explained a lot more things, it would make more sense. Like being like maybe if the characters have encountered a Wendigo before, and that's how they lost their mother. So then, or maybe like the story is they're trying to hunt the Wendigo that killed their mother.
It's fair.
I think that would make a lot more sense. For that, even that narration path there, was a little weird. Another thing I wanted to bring up, near the end there, where Tackwalking took out the Wendigo's heart, and he like killed it, and then all of a sudden our character's like, "Oh, I don't want to die. I'm gonna eat my brother."
I think
why?
It said it corrupts your mind, like it changes how you think, and he didn't want to die, and he saw this thing like looking at him, and I think it was in his brain, like again it was getting into him, and he knew that if he accepted this like presence, the thing, he wouldn't die. So he latched onto that and he became a new Wendigo that way. And then he ate his brother because he became a Wendigo.
I guess, but it just felt so fast.
That's fair.
It's like it felt way too fast. You know what I mean? Like Tackwalking walks away for like a second, and the brother's just like, "Well,
yeah,
it's fuck."
And then
it just starts eating his brother, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't have thought that over for the longer.
Or, you know
He was
what
on
I
the
mean?
verge of death, though, right? Like, he was desperate.
It still feels weird to me from a narration, like, or like a writing standpoint for it to be that fast. Like,
Yeah.
that feels too fast. Like, it's just,
Fair.
because the whole thing with the Wendigo is like, usually it's cannibalism that does it, right?
From
So somebody
starvation,
has to be
right?
starving, but this character, he wasn't starving. You know what I mean? He was just dying. So, like, it's just, I don't know, it just felt weird from, like, a Wendigo standpoint. Because usually it's from starvation. I feel like you definitely could have incorporated this in a better way. Like, Tack walking, maybe hunting the Wendigo down. Maybe he got separated from the brothers because the brother chased after him, and then the fucking, like, maybe they fell into it somewhere, or they got stuck somewhere, the brother died, and then he's stuck down there, and Tack walking doesn't know where he is, but he killed the Wendigo, so then there's no Wendigo
just
to worry
sitting there,
about anymore, but the brother's stuck, and he's injured, and he's starving to death, because maybe his leg's pinned
That's
or
when the
something.
spirit gets to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then he eats his brother. Like, that would have made so much more sense than this happening this fast. Because it just happened so fast. Like, I just felt... It was... I'm trying to think of the words for it. It felt like... It almost felt like you were, like, looking for a way to do this, but you didn't know how... You just wanted to do it. You didn't know how to do it properly, really, so you kind of just did it. So then we ended up with, like, this kind of... It's a cool idea, but it just happens so fast that you don't even really understand what's...
Like, it's not like fleshed out.
Yeah, I just feel like that segment there was just kind of not super... A lot of this needs to be fleshed out more.
Fair.
Because, like, I feel like this would be a really strong story if you just fleshed this out. This could be a sick story. Because you wrote a lot of the stuff really well, and a lot of this, like even like the atmosphere is pretty cool. The Tack walking as a character was pretty cool. I thought he was an interesting character. And then you have, like, I was more interested in Tack walking than I was the main character. Like, we don't know any. Like, the main character was kind of like...
He's like this native guy.
He's a stutter. Why does he have a stutter? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
Well,
some
like,
people just have a stutter.
I know, but, like...
So it's a weird choice.
That feels like a weird choice to give a character to not explain. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he has a stutter because, like, the Wendigo scared the shit out of him when he was a kid because he killed his mom. So now he has a stutter. Like, I don't know. Like, there's just like lots of little things that just, like, felt unnecessary, or felt like they could have been expanded upon. Like, the stutter, and then the mom's dying. Like, oh, it killed your mother, or whatever the hell. It's like, what? Like, it just kind of came out of nowhere. And it's like, well, how the hell did it kill the mother? Like, where was the mother? Was it, like, fall? Like was she with them? Like, what do you mean?
He was trailing behind.
Yeah, so, like, that just felt weird. And the brother just, like, running into the woods. Just like, okay. I literally just
Ignoring
said...
all the previous warnings, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that just felt weird. And then the end part, like, Tack walking leaves for, like, fucking 5 minutes. And then the brother's just like, oh, fuck, I'm hungry, man. I don't know, dude. You know what I mean? It just starts eating his, like, it just all felt super rushed. Like, it just felt super rushed. I think if you took this story and you sat with it for a little longer and you just expanded upon some of these parts, the story would be really strong. Because I'm only giving you, like, heavy criticism because I really like it. And I just think if you focused on these parts that were just really kind of strange and flushed them out more, and you flushed out maybe the character dynamic between the brothers, it'd be so much better. Because I barely even knew they were brothers. Like, it was just like, we didn't really get that much between them. And I understand, like, you're just doing a short story, but even when you do a short story, some things need to be flushed out a little more, or don't add too much detail to the point where it just feels weird. You know what I mean? Like, adding these little, like, character stuff, and then us not knowing anything about it is just a little strange. Like, the stutter just felt really strange, and then the mother thing felt very strange. Him innocently eating his brother, and then, like, just felt really rushed. And then the Wendigo died really fast. Like, almost, like, to the point where it didn't feel super threatening. He kind of just, like, shot it and just, like, cut its heart out. And I was like, okay. You know what I mean? That wasn't really like
a tweaking on the floor with the head shut.
Yeah, like, it wasn't really like a fight. Like, that could have been like a little bit more of like a battle. Like, it could have been fucking with them more, you know what I mean? Like, playing with their minds more. I feel like even if you built up the, like, the power he had to, like, make people, like, go kind of crazy a little more, I think it would have been, even then, that could have worked a little better. Making the Wendigo a little more threatening and having more of that power, because then it would make more sense for the brother to be able to eat him right there. Because then you kind of understand that Wendigos are more like, a more malevolent force to be feared. Where here, it kind of just felt like he was just kind of like a nuisance. But
Fair.
I don't know. I think it just needs to be flushed out more. That's it. But it was still really, like, it was cool. It was a cool take. It just needs to be flushed out more. Anything you want to say, Ben?
Alright, yeah, not really. I thought it was a unique take on the Wendigo thing, where it's like a little spirit coming out. I haven't seen that before. Like how I guess it corrupted him to make him want to eat his brother. But I do agree that it was very fast. Like, I know he's like on the verge of death. He didn't want to die, and he was desperate. So he turned to this thing that was offering him, like, you can survive. You'll turn into like this thing though, and he was willing to accept that, which I think was a little, weak-willed of a character, but it makes sense for the story reason. But I agree with Wyatt. It was very quick.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you could make that work. It just needs to be, like, expanded upon a little more. Maybe imply that the character is a weak character from the start. So then we understand that any ounce of something bad happening, he would just jump to anything that would save himself. Like,
That's fair.
like, you have to make him a little more, like, self-indulgent for it to make sense. Because it just kind of happened. And it was like, oh.
Make him a bit of a
Meow.
We can't be name dropping in our videos, bro. But yeah, that's all I have to say. It was still cool. Just reach out to me after you listen to it and just, like, let me know what you think. If you do have more that you expanded upon before, let me know. If this is something you are still working on, let me know. But yeah. Anyways, if you guys made it this far, sorry, what?
Yep. So I was about to say what you were gonna say.
Oh yeah, if you guys made it this far, like, comment, subscribe if you want to. It helps us out.
All the YouTube shenanigans.
Yeah, all that YouTube shenanigans. But anyways, that's all we have to say. So goodbye.
Goodbye.